Hello, I love you first and foremost. And I want to let you know that you shouldn't idolize the pointer because the consciousness that sustains idolization keeps you in the consciousness in which you need something pointed to. And so when you idolize the pointer, you stay in a consciousness of dependency instead of embodying what's being pointed to. I just want to get rich esoteric principles to you in the simplest way ever. Kind of reminds me of Robin Hood, takes from the rich and gives to the poor, the meek, the humble, those who are seeking love, which is who you are. And so I want to talk about how to return to the other side. Imagine a kid that goes to school and has a situation. And so the kid comes home and asks her uncle for advice. And so the uncle decides to shed light on the situation. And when the uncle sheds light on the situation, the uncle is telling the child what they would have done in the situation, their code of conduct. And so as they shed light on their code of conduct, they are sharing their light codes. With that being said, imagine starting off as divine light naturally. No effort is needed. You are of love. You are as love. And so everything that you do is of love. You are not seeking a purpose because you are in a state of oneness in which everything that you do naturally automatically has divine purpose. You are in a total state of oneness, and imagine that being had a mind's eye in a sense. We'll call it a pineal gland. And imagine that being thinking denser and denser, and that being taking on a set of dense light codes. And let's say this calcifies the mind's eye in a sense, and that being goes from being spirit and calcifies into physicality. I hope that makes sense. And it's all because this being went from natural divine principle and took on lower light codes. I told you, I think in a previous video, that the human consciousness is simply a lower variation of the divine consciousness. They are on the same spectrum, just a different degree. You are always of God, even if you feel separated, because you are of God. To be of means to be equal to, but you have took on dense principles and went into a lower degree. This is why I tell you it's not a matter of performing acts of love. It is a matter of returning to who you are in essence, so that everything that you do is of love. And so, as I was saying, to get to the other side, let's take patience and faith. Patience is a tool that is used to express or point to something that it expresses. Faith is a tool used to point to that which it expresses. But when what it expresses is integrated into your being naturally, there will be no need to have patience. So patience and faith is an ingredient used in the human state of being to climb up to sustain you in a certain vibration. But you can shift into a consciousness that is no longer in need of patience. Imagine a cake. Let's say we have eggs, water, and butter. Each one of those three elements have their individual life, individual purpose. Eggs can be scrambled. Butter can be put on toast. Water can be used to hydrate. Even though those tools have an individual purpose, once they are fused together by fire, they are integrated and they are rendered as a whole different creation, which is a cake. Those eggs, that water, the butter, it fused together to make a fluffy substance. And it no longer is of those individual purposes in a sense. And so this is what I mean by faith, hope, all of those tools. You must understand that every time you accept a thought, you are writing a character. Most of those tools are needed by the character that you have written in this earthened consciousness. I need to have patience. I need to have faith. In the unlimited, there's no such thing as faith. Let me explain. In this little limited preset narrative, things are happening. You set up expectations and you say things like, I have to have faith that this will happen. But everything within this limited narrative is already preset. You either know it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. Once you write a character of divinity outside, above, and beyond this limited narrative, there will be no need for faith. People always say the only fear is that of the unknown, but you're only calling something unknown because we sit in this limited narrative and refer to that as the known. You are creators. There is nothing to know. As a creator, everything is new. It is possibility at all times. We only sit in this limited narrative, in the known. And so it's not necessarily the unknown that is fear. The fact that we sit in this limited, comfortable narrative, that alone is a fear, is a limit. And so when you alchemize this limited narrative, you will understand that is no need for faith because everything is brand new as a creator. And so this is what it means to believe in a higher power. The ambience, your aura, is governed by your mindset. Think about the fact that even the things that make you upset, think about a baby when it first enters this narrative. It doesn't know the terms. So nothing can make the baby mad or glad. It doesn't know what the terms mean. The terms have to register within the brain, then program the reward system. Then we write a character that puts us underneath the spelling, the terms and conditions of this narrative. For example, to tell a young lady, you determine your worth by a person opening a door. It is not beneficial to write that on the brain, to let a character think that the swinging of a wooden door determines its worth. There is nothing in this earthen narrative that can truly tell you who you are. And so the character that we've written on the brain has put us under the subjection of these terms and conditions. And so it is up to you to alchemize the human state of being, to put yourself above even the highest things, even patience, even what you call gratitude. When you return to your true state of divinity, everything, just like that cake, it will be naturally integrated into who you are naturally. To the point where if someone told you to have faith, it would be like the cake trying to take the egg or the component out to ponder what it is, because all of those things will be you naturally. This is what I am means. It is naturally who I am. And so the light codes of this lower consciousness does not produce enough light to bring the body into its celestial form. And yes, you can take the body with you when you leave this realm. The body can go into a celestial state. This is actually mentioned in the Bible, but people misinterpret it. You don't need the Bible, by the way, but it's some gems, just as other books also. I don't really read anything or listen to anyone. I just commune with who I am in essence, but just in a natural state, but has a lot of things in it that go overlooked. For example, Genesis 1 speaks of the waters above, then it speaks of a firmament, then it speaks of the waters below. The waters above represent the divine consciousness. Waters is consciousness. The divide, then you have the waters below, which is the human state of being. The divide can be, in a sense, a body, because the body is the mediator to bring who you are in spirit into fruition in this physical reality. So you have who you are in spirit, then you have this median or the body that shows forth what you are in spirit. So there is a consciousness above that is really who you are in essence. And the goal is to make the human nature as the divine nature is. Make the below as the above. When you do that, there is no more separation. You bring heaven down. Once you bring heaven down, you can ascend into heaven. It is not a matter of the human consciousness saying, I want to go back to my place of divinity, because the human state of consciousness is simply a lower degree of the Christ consciousness, of who you truly are in your divine nature. You emerged from God. You are of God. You are automatically divine nature, but you went into a lower degree. Imagine a spiritual being in divine nature. Nothing is needed. Everything that it does is of love, because it is naturally who you are. You don't even have to say things like do acts of kindness, do this. Those are simply ingredients that are automatically who that being is. And imagine falling into a state of fragmented concepts. Now you're trying to put the pieces back together, show love, do this, do that, which can serve as a tool. But when you return, there will be no need for the tools. There will be no fragments. And so imagine that divine being. And let's say the divine being has a pineal gland or a mind's eye. And the mind's eye takes on dense light codes. And that spiritual being begins to become physical in a state of physicality. It leaves that spiritual nature. When it was really spirit in essence, it swam out into a dense state of being. And now it is trying to fix what is happening within that consciousness. It's not a matter of fixing what is happening in the lower consciousness. It is a matter of returning to who you are. This is why my body went translucent. The fire wasn't the first time that it happened. We all start in spirit. We birth into denser principles. We've taken on lower vibration. And sometimes to return to higher vibration, it's just simply a matter of recognizing what is considered lower vibration and alchemizing that. Because higher vibration is just simply who you are. And so we birth into physicality. And the human consciousness fixes the traumas within the lower consciousness, within the consciousness of the lower physicality. And what ends up happening when you fix one thing, another thing happens. When you fix this, it is not a matter of fixing the trauma. Because if you look at the word trauma, it is the root word for traumatic. So for an event to be deemed as a trauma, the mind has to deem this as traumatic. So all of your traumas are happening in the human state of consciousness. So it is not a matter of fixing a trauma because you are not human. It is a matter of dissolving the mindset that deemed the event as traumatic, and then the trauma dissolves. In equilibrium with love, there was never anything to be fixed. You descended into a lower consciousness, and now you're trying to sort it out instead of returning. So when I realized this, I swam back into the equilibrium, and my body went translucent for the first time. It returned back to spirit, and when it materialized, the one from the other side is the one who returned. It is the higher self in a sense. The higher version. That was indicative to a death, because the consciousness that we swim out to create the characters that get traumatized or needs faith or even needs hope, we're calling that our life. When that is not life, that is simply the narrative that has cultivated a persona from your neutral energy. Life is simply the animation that you are. So even while you are here, just simply practice releasing the gravity of the importance of the things you do. Come into natural realizations. The more you sit aside from the earthen consciousness, the more you become sensitive to what is the earthen consciousness, what has to be alchemized. That's all I will say for now. I do want to say this. True meditation is not simply sitting in silence, because silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is alchemizing the mindset in which the sound derives from. We'll speak more on all of these things later. I want to speak to all of the people who come in it because I love them. I love you too as well. To be continued. I love you.